morning, friends. It is the morning of Friendsgiving. You were here yesterday with me. We prepped a whole ton of food in order to have this dinner party tonight. We are having pumpkin raviolis, focaccia bread, and I want to go ahead and get a bunch of this stuff wrapped up this morning so that as soon as my friends get here, we can enjoy being together and I don't have to worry about food prep at all. We need to get the bread going, the vegetable going, finish our charcuterie board, and set the table. Oh, and last night when I was in bed, this is olive oil. I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons of olive oil in the bottom of, this is a 15 by 10 Pyrex dish. When I was laying in bed last night, I don't know if this ever happens to you, but it dawned on me, I do not have enough chairs for everybody to sit at a table, and I do not have enough silverware. The silverware we have in our house, we got as a wedding gift, and Josh and I have been married almost, I think this February it's 8 years or 9 years, I'm not sure. And we have lost some silverware over the years, and I don't have enough for everybody. So we're gonna have to go run to the store and pick up a couple items so that people can have something to eat with when they get here. So here's our dough. So I 1.5 this recipe, and for one recipe you are supposed to make it in 2 9x9s. This has been sitting in the fridge overnight. We're supposed to make it into a ball. It's nice and cold. So I'm going to use this 10 by 15, and all we're supposed to do is put it in the middle of our dish with our oil on the bottom, and then we are going to cover it back with the same plastic wrap we used before, just so it doesn't dry out. You know what I think I'm supposed to do? Probably supposed to put a little bit of oil on the top of it, so I'm just going to roll that over one time and then roll it back over just so that there's some oil on the top. Before I started this, I turned my oven on its warm setting just so that it would warm up a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn my oven off. And I'm going to turn the light on. So I'm going to let this proof in here for 4 hours. It says 3 to 4 hours. I always find that it always takes longer. So I'm planning for 5 or 6 hours for it to sit in here. And it's going to be warmer in here with the light on than it would just sitting on my counter. So now we've got that going. Let's go ahead and we gotta go pick some sage. So with our pumpkin raviolis, I'm gonna make a homemade brown butter sauce. Typically when you make a brown butter sauce, you make it right before you serve it, but I'm gonna go ahead and make it this morning. So all I'll have to do is warm it up once we cook the pasta, and then we can serve it. But I'm also gonna fry some sage, which means we need to pick some and get it washed so we can fry it this morning. And then we don't have to worry about doing it once our guests are over. So I'm gonna pick the nice, beautiful leaves. I wanna try to get as much done this morning as we can before people come over so we can just enjoy the company while they're over. That's probably enough. To me, that's kind of the key of hosting, is trying to get as much done as possible so that when you have your friends over or family, you can just focus on them and not the food so much. So the vegetable I decided to serve with tonight's dinner is broccolini. I always think it just feels fancy. We're gonna roast this, and I had a really, like an aha moment that we're gonna roast it. I'll show you what pan we're gonna roast it in so that we can go ahead and just serve it in the same pan we roast it in. It'll look presentable, and it'll be one less dish we need to clean. So I'm gonna take the rubber bands off this broccolini, and we're gonna give it a good wash. I'm gonna go ahead and wash the sage too while we're at it. So this is the cast iron that we're gonna go ahead and make our broccoli in, and I can just roast this in the oven and serve our broccoli in the same cast iron, and it'll be really pretty. Instead of my original idea was to cook the broccoli on a cookie sheet like I normally do, and then I would transfer it to a serving dish when the guests come over. But I thought, you know what, I could just roast it and serve it in here. I'm just coating the bottom of the cast iron with a little bit of oil. Now we're gonna put our broccoli in here, and we will season up this broccoli with everything except for salt. I don't like to pre-salt my vegetables that I'm gonna roast in the oven, just because it tends to have them draw out the moisture from them, and I don't wanna do that. So Josh is able to help me real quick get the tables out. Because we have a few more people, we have to extend the table. So we got out a too big of table, and now we're gonna use the short table. So he's gonna take the big one out because we don't need that much extra seating. Josh is working around the house getting some different projects done today, but he's willing to take a break to help me when I need it. That'll work. So we have the table set up now, and because we had to add an extra one, I have to rethink how we're gonna set the table completely, which is totally fine. It's gonna be kind of fun to figure that out to accommodate more people. So we're gonna get that done today too. I'm gonna add a little bit of our garlic infused olive oil, or avocado oil, it's both, in there. And then I'm gonna season it with salt. No, excuse me, just pepper. And then we're going to just mix this up. And our broccoli is now ready. When we're ready to bake it, I'll preheat the oven to 425 degrees probably. And then I'll sprinkle it with some salt, and then we will bake it, and we will have some really yummy, easy roasted broccoli that we can serve right in this cast iron, and it'll be really pretty. And one more thing done early in the morning that I don't have to worry about. So the next thing we're gonna get going on is our brown butter sauce, and I'm gonna make that just in this pot. And I think I'm going to do 2 cups. And whatever we don't eat, we can put in the freezer and freeze for later. Making brown butter is really easy. It just takes a couple minutes and a close eye on it. So while we're letting our butter melt, let's go ahead and look at our list of what we need to do today. A couple things I put on this list were from last night, and a couple things I need to add. So let's see, so we picked our sage. We have our bread going. Oh, I want to tell you what people are bringing. So the menu tonight is pumpkin ravioli with our homegrown pumpkin. We made the raviolis yesterday. Our broccolini, our focaccia. Josh's friends, I'm not sure what they're bringing. I just told them the menu and what I was already making, and then they're gonna show up with some things. And then we started making a beautiful charcuterie board, so we're gonna finish the charcuterie board today. My friend's husband is bringing tiramisu that he's making from scratch, and then my other friend is bringing wine. The theme for tonight's dinner is Italian, so she's gonna bring some Italian wines. So what we need to do is finish setting the table. We need to make a pot of coffee. I'm gonna show you how the house projects are going because you haven't seen that since we had some things done. Make the charcuterie, make the brown butter, cook the pasta, clean up, and make a beautiful table. Plus we're gonna go run some errands, I guess, and pick up a couple things. So it's gonna be a good day. I'm looking forward to it. You can see it's starting to melt. You don't wanna take your eyes off this when you're making brown butter because it can go from brown to burnt very, very quickly. When you're making brown butter, it's the butter solids in the butter that actually you're browning, the milk proteins. And you get this really beautiful nutty caramelized flavor that you just don't get when you just have melted butter. And if you guys have never tried brown butter chocolate chip cookies, those are life-changing. You will never make a regular chocolate chip cookie or want to make a regular chocolate chip cookie again. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna fry our sage leaves in our brown butter. So we're not only gonna make the sage crunchy, but we are infusing the butter with the sage flavor. I wish you could smell it in here. It smells so good. You know what else we're gonna put in our pasta? We're gonna toast some nuts. So I'm gonna preheat the oven to 350. When you're cooking, you're looking for different textures and different flavor profiles that are opposite of each other. And that's what gives you a really elevated feel to a dish. And it's something that I'm personally working on getting better at. When I say, what I mean by that is you want a balance of like sweet and spicy, or savory and acidic, fatty and acidic maybe, where you kind of take the opposite flavors or profiles and you mix them together, and that's what gives you a really balanced dish. Same thing with textures. So our pasta is going to be soft, our raviolis, and we can put an opposite texture in there like some toasted nuts to give us a crunch, so we can kind of play on different textures and flavors. So that is what I'm going to do, is get some nuts toasted. So the butter changes colors. You want to make sure you use a light pan, not like a non-stick Teflon pan, because you need to be able to see when that browning starts to occur. Our leaves are almost fried and our butter is almost brown. So this is when we do not walk away from this at all. Okay, I'm going to take these sage leaves off here. Try to get them one layer thick so we can let those drain and they can get nice and crispy. So we can break them up. I'm going to pour this brown butter sauce into this bowl to stop the cooking process because I do not want this to burn. This is the milk proteins that have browned. So we're just going to let this cool off in this bowl here. And that's our sauce. I'm going to just taste this just to make sure. We did not overcook it. It's not burnt. That is some really, really good stuff. This is salted butter, so I'm not going to add any salt to this sauce. That is as easy as it gets. So what I'm going to do is that's really hot butter, is once we cook our noodles or our pasta in a big pot, I'll just warm this back up because this butter will probably solidify. I'm not going to heat it all the way through, just warm it up so it's melted and we can drizzle it over our pasta. So let's get some nuts toasting. So we're going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Oops. It couldn't be any easier to toast nuts. I just have a baking dish here, and I'm going to use pine nuts. This is a super special ingredient. I never buy pine nuts because they are so expensive, but I was gifted these in my P.O. box, and we are going to use a special treat to have for our Friendsgiving. I can't think of a better time to break out the good stuff than now. The reason pine nuts are so expensive is a pine nut tree has to be, from what I've heard or understand, at least 40 years old before it'll start actually producing nuts. So that's quite a time investment for farmers to produce pine nuts. Toasting them couldn't be any easier. We're just going to put a few on a baking sheet. We don't need a lot, just a few. And I'm going to store these in the freezer because the last thing I would want is for these to go bad on us. When I make pesto, traditional Italian pesto is made with pine nuts. I usually use walnuts because they're so much more affordable, but I want to save these pine nuts in the freezer for this coming summer, so when we make pesto to freeze for all year's use, we can use these beautiful pine nuts and they won't have gone bad on us. And here are our sage leaves, and you can hear they're nice and crunchy. So we're gonna let these just hang out until we're ready to top our pasta with them. So while we're waiting for our oven to preheat for our pine nuts, we can plate up our biscotti we made yesterday. This is gonna be part of the dessert. These turned out so good. I also want to get a pot of coffee ready to go so we can have coffee with dessert. I'm going to make I'm not going to make it now, but I'm going to put some fresh coffee grounds into our pot. We are going to make some decaf coffee so that as soon as dinner's done and we're ready for dessert, I can push the on button, and anyone who would like to enjoy a nice cup of coffee with dessert will have a pot ready to go. We've got our coffee grounds in there. Now we'll get our water. I did take, because we have 2 tables now that we're combining, I'm going to put tablecloths on our table. So I did take a second and I threw those tablecloths in the dryer so that they would be nice and wrinkle free, so we can set our table up in just a minute. I'm not the biggest fan of ironing, so if I can throw something in the dryer, I would rather do that. This is the pan I'm going to heat the butter up when it's time for dinner that people can put over their pasta. Now that it's cooled enough, I'm gonna put our brown butter back into this pan so we can reheat it when we're ready for dinner. Now that the foam's gone, you can really see how nice and caramel color that is. It's so good. Woohoo! Okay, we almost burnt these. That would have been tragic. So we are gonna get these off this hot plate as soon as we can to stop that cooking process. Perfect. I just threw one in my mouth, really hot, to make sure I didn't burn it. And I put the plate in the freezer to just stop that cooking process. Those are toasted up perfectly. What I was doing that distracted me was I was checking on, here, these are our pine nuts. I'm gonna taste one again just to make sure. Okay, those are cooked perfectly. They taste really good actually. Was our tablecloths. I want to go ahead and get our tablescape set up, and I'm having to rethink it because we completely have to revamp. Well, I'll show you what I mean. But while we're in the laundry room, we had some work done in here. I already got these closets put back together. We were together when we emptied these closets to get these doors on here. So I think I'm going to use this table runner instead of the one I have on the table. So let me show you these doors. They're not completely done yet. We still have to put hardware on them so that they're easy to open and close. And Josh needs to trim them out. But that is looking a whole lot better than looking at all my linens in there. And they have to be painted. They're not painted yet. So once they're trimmed, we'll have them painted. Did get the doors installed on our closets in here as well. And I re-put all of our clothes back in here, and I got them out of the living room like they were. So let me show you what they look like all closed up. So that is the doors closed up. They need to be painted as well. They need hardware on them, and they need a trim piece at the top. But overall, I am so happy not to be staring at our clothes. It makes it quieter in here, it's calmer in here, and I just love it. If you're wondering what this is up here, we have one of those on my office desk too. That is a CO2 and radon detector. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer, and it's a naturally occurring thing that comes out of the ground, and it's pretty prevalent here in the Northwest, and it's nothing, you can remediate it. We had to do that in our last house, but it's totally fine here. We haven't had any issues with it here, but it's really interesting to have the CO2 levels and the radon all the time. And when I'm cooking, if I have the door shut to the kitchen, you can really tell that the CO2 levels go up, and it can affect your sleeping and a bunch of interesting things like that. So anyway, enough about that. Let's go set the table. But we need to get our nicely fluffed tablecloths out of the dryer. My mother-in-law has a steam function on her dryer, which I think is super cool. I think that would be really nice. Mine, I just sometimes put a little bit of water on the clothes or whatever it might be and turn the dryer back on. So if it wasn't for the fact that we're adding an extra table, I wouldn't put a tablecloth on here. I'd probably just leave the table plain. But I don't want this table to show because this is my craft table and it looks a mess. So we'll just unset the table and then we will redecorate it. Because I'm putting a white tablecloth on the table, I'm gonna take our new white table runner off because I think I'm gonna want a little bit more contrast than that. But we will put this back later. This little bit right here is bothering me because it's shorter. Does that make sense on each side? If I had a card table, it would fit everybody exactly perfect, and it would be the same dimensions of this table with this table. So I'm gonna go call my brother-in-law, the one I'm borrowing some folding tables and asked them if they have a card table I could borrow as well. And that way it would look more even all the way across. So I just ran to Weimar and I just bought myself a card table. They were very affordable. I actually bought a nice wooden one. It was only $10 extra to buy a wooden one as opposed to buying the cheap vinyl one. And so I thought for 10 extra bucks, we might as well go with one that's gonna last probably a lot longer and just feel like better quality. I also went and borrowed some folding chairs from my sister and some silverware. Oh, this is pretty. It even has wooden legs. So you might hear Josh and his friend. They are doing some wiring projects in the garage. Look at this, Josh.
Nice, our own table.
Our own table, and it's wood, and it's only $10 extra than the vinyl, like, plasticky one. So
Those are always terrible too.
yeah,
That's great. Nice.
and we don't own a card table. And this will be good for things like playing cards or doing puzzles at the holidays and things. So it's exciting. So I am going to put a tablecloth on it. The reason I wanted to get it is because now it's more of the same width as my other table, so it won't feel like someone is sitting on some wonky little skinny table. Awesome. So now we've got chairs for everybody, we've got a seat for everybody, and now we can get back to the fun part of actually decorating this table. Do you see my chickens walking around in the background? I love having my chickens free range. It's so fun because they're basically like little lawn ornaments in my front yard, but they do make a mess. And so eventually we will build like a coop for them. But for now, they get to enjoy the whole property and they really enjoy being on my front porch. And I enjoy having them there for now. I don't have enough placemats for this mini, so I don't think we're going to use them today. But I have enough plates and everything. So the theme for this table is black and gold, because that is what I have. I should probably get my little Christmas trees on the table. One of my family members had a baby shower over the weekend, and I was gifted to take home some of the really pretty decorations. So I think I can put this eucalyptus on the table, and that would be pretty. Add a little bit of green. I'm not sure if I'm going to use the baby's breath or not. We'll start with the eucalyptus. And then I just preheated the oven so we can get the focaccia in the oven, because the focaccia has definitely rose for us. So I was thinking I could kind of just, I think that really helps kind of bring this to life. I think the green of the eucalyptus is the perfect touch. Now I need to get some glasses out. So I have some glasses up here that we can have people drink out of. They're just Goodwill cups that I've kind of collected over the years. And I really only like to use them at parties because they're hand wash cups, and they're all a little bit different, but they're all really pretty. They're all kind of like different gold and black. These are like super mid-century modern, really, really cool cups. They just have different gold designs. So we'll serve water in these ones. And then I think for the wine, we will just serve in mason jars, because that's what I have. So that's what we'll do. Here is the final tablescape. So all the cups are a little bit different. I have a couple short ones, medium-sized ones, tall ones, and we'll just put water in those when it's time to have dinner. It feels good that we have the table done. My office area is cleaned up. Now I need to reread the baking directions for that focaccia. So our bread has rose beautifully. It smells fantastic. We're supposed to take a little more olive oil and spread it on the top. And then the fun part is we take our fingers and we make holes for the olive oil to set in. And this is what gives it its focaccia shape. I hope I didn't have this overproof. I don't really know what it should look like because I haven't made this in years. And the recipe I'm following for this one is like my no-knead bread recipe where you let it sit and kind of do a long ferment in the refrigerator overnight. So I'm hoping this turns out really good. It had really good reviews, but this oven was pretty warm when it was rising. I didn't realize how warm it had gotten. So this got super, super bubbly, more than I was expecting. So we're gonna cross our fingers and hope that it bakes up nicely. We're gonna put it in here and bake it for, it says 25 to 30 minutes. We are making some fantastic progress. We've got the table set. My office area is clean. We do need to unload the dishwasher and get these dishes washed up, but our food is basically done other than we need to finish putting together our charcuterie board and cooking our pasta. But I have got, it's 2 o'clock now, so I have plenty of time to do a fun little project that I've been wanting to do. Before we do the boring stuff like unloading and doing the dishes, we're going to make some fun Epsom salts because I just got some yesterday, I think it was yesterday, and I want to make them scented because I am obsessed with taking baths right now. I'm just finding that super relaxing. So I have a 5-pound bag of Epsom salt, and I'm going to do this whole bag. So we're going to pour all of this into a big mixing bowl, and then I have peppermint essential oils. I'm going to start with 3 dropperfuls, and I have eucalyptus essential oils. We'll start with 3 of these as well. Now all we're going to do is mix this together. This smells so good. Oh my goodness, I love it. Perfect. I think we put the exact correct amount in here. So now I just need to get a cute little scoop and we can use this anytime. I'm so happy about doing this. I've been wanting to do this for so long. You can buy Epsom salts that are already, have essential oils in them, but I kind of wanted to do it myself. So I bought these essential oils so we can make some candles. I'm just gonna stick these in here so that I can go put these away where they go. I can carry everything. And then we'll be back to get this kitchen clean. Before I start totally cleaning the kitchen, I want to repurpose this baby's breath because it's still got a good amount of life in it, even though it is a week old. Baby's breath is what Josh and I had at our wedding on all the centerpieces. We did not spend a lot of money on our wedding because we wanted to go on a really nice vacation, and we were buying our first home at that time. So we took some of the money for our wedding and we put it into our first home and on vacation. So baby's breath alone in a mason jar was part of the centerpieces of our wedding. And so it's kind of bringing back some nice memories. And how pretty is that? Just really simple, really beautiful. I think where we're gonna put this is just right on these placemats, and I'm gonna stick that right in the middle of the island. We did the bulk of our cooking yesterday, so I really wanted to make sure I got the dishwasher unloaded so that we could, at the end of the party tonight, I could make sure I could load up all the dishes that we're gonna use at the party tonight. I can start to smell that bread, and it's starting to smell fantastic, so we should probably check on it and see how it's doing. Hopefully it's cooked all the way in the inside. It's nice and golden brown, and hopefully it will release. We put enough oil on the bottom. It said that focaccia likes to stick, so that's one reason why you need to put quite a bit of oil or parchment paper down. But we've got a nice color on the bread itself. And then on the bottom part, it's got beautiful color down there. So we're just gonna let this cool. We got the dishwasher unloaded, so now it's time to just wash a couple dishes by hand. And then it'll be time to sit down and relax for a little bit, maybe pour ourselves a cup of tea. I'm gonna put this in the dishwasher. I basically only have 2 spatulas and a bowl in the dishwasher, which is great because that means after dinner I'll be able to load it right up. We're gonna put the final touches on the kitchen and just make sure it's nice and tidy so that when people get here, it'll just feel like a nice clean environment. We emptied the sink, we got the dishwasher all unloaded. The only 2 things that are in there are 2 spatulas, which is great. I will be able to load all of the dinner dishes, and then I'm just doing a final wipe down on all the appliances just because there are fingerprints on them from me. I sometimes can be a little bit messy, and I just want to make sure everything has one final wipe down. My husband's friend brought some mead, so we're going to enjoy that with dinner tonight, and I thought I would go ahead and put that on a cute little tray with just the mason jars. We will just serve the wine with mason jars. Probably good to taste test things before you have guests come over. I'm kind of in the mindset that I just go with it. Just like I don't know if our pumpkin pasta is going to turn out at all. Oh, wow. Look at the texture on that. That's beautiful. You want to taste it?
Oh yeah, but you might have to feed it to me because my hands are gross.
That has a really good texture.
I smell like cinnamon, so I was expecting like sweet cinnamon for some reason.
Oh, it's not a sweet bread. It's like crispy on the outside. It's almost fried on the outside, and it's super soft and chewy. I do think before I get ready for people to come over, I'm gonna cut this bread and get it into a bowl. And then I'm gonna finish our charcuterie board. I just pulled it out of the refrigerator. You actually want to serve cheese more at room temperature. So people will be here in probably, I don't know, about an hour or so. So it's a good time to get the charcuterie board out of the refrigerator. When you're serving those nicer cheeses, you can taste them a lot better when they're closer to room temperature than when they're completely cold. This smells so good. So by cutting it and having it in a serving bowl before people get here, they won't even know that we had a taste test. I do have a serrated knife to make cutting a lot easier. Look at the crumb on that bread. Beautiful. I have a bowl here with a towel. This is just a pretty wooden bowl I got as a Christmas gift one year. And we're gonna take our bread and just arrange it nicely in here. And we can fold the towel over top of it like a beautiful Christmas gift. If you weren't with me when we made this, I put together this board yesterday on my cutting board, and I put the cheese, the meat, the fruit, and everything on it, and some veggies, except for the crackers, because I wrapped it up in saran wrap and then I threw it in the refrigerator, and I didn't want the crackers to get all weird. I have a dip here. This is an onion dip, and I did not make it, courtesy of New Seasons. Or no, this was Trader Joe's. I got this at Trader Joe's. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in this little bowl here with a little spoon. I bought a couple different crackery type things to put on our board. The first one is just an olive oil and salt plain kind of cracker. These are my favorite. These are from Trader Joe's. They're a fig cracker. They have big chunks of fig in them, and they're crunchy and sweet and delicious. And then I got just some crostinis from New Seasons. So I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna start, well, the dogs are getting that one. I'm just gonna start kind of putting some things around some different areas. Can you see the little pieces of fig in there? Here's a better example. That's a big chunk of fig. So delicious. The last thing I'm gonna open is some of this French brie. I didn't open this yesterday because I thought that it would be better if it was left in its package. We're not gonna warm this up or anything. This is a really nice, beautiful, high quality brie, but I do need to get a little knife for it. I am gonna continue to try to stuff a few more crostinis in a couple different places if I can manage them to fit. That's probably as good as I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna go put the crackers in the pantry, but I have more if we need to refill our charcuterie board. Let me show you what we have on the charcuterie board. And I think this is probably the best one I've ever made. I'm no expert. I just had fun going to New Seasons and Trader Joe's and just having fun kind of picking out some random stuff. Some of these things I already had on hand. So we have our crostini. This is a fancy type of Swiss cheese. We have grapes. We have our kind of just plain crackers, ham. We have 3 different varieties of salami, apricots. This is a very, very sharp cheddar, corn nuts, our onion dip, pistachios, our brie, which I need to get a little knife for, our different crackers, some carrots, and another one of our salamis. So I have a little tray out for some wine. So when people get here, this is actually mead. If you're wondering what mead is a very unique drink. It is a wine-like beverage that is made with honey as opposed to grape juice, and it has a very unique flavor. So I had about 2 hours where I was able to relax, change, get ready, and then I had all the components for dinner, and now it's time to go ahead and put some of those components together. So I salted our broccoli and I threw it in the oven. I roasted that for about 20 minutes. And then before people came, I wanted to light the candles, and so I did that. I wanted it to be a very cozy and inviting environment before people came over. Josh has put in smart switches and smart lighting, so I am able to kind of dim the lighting in the house and create kind of like this cozy holiday festive environment. I think the table turned out beautiful, and Josh's friend actually ended up bringing a beautiful salad with a vinaigrette. He made some homemade dressing and he marinated these tomatoes and mozzarella, and it was perfect. It was actually the perfect accompaniment to the dinner. That little bit of acid and brightness from the tomatoes really balanced the richness of these pumpkin raviolis. I did cook these in batches. I cooked them for about 4 minutes. I put them in the boiling water, and as soon as they floated, they came out of the water and I drained them, and they were so good. They definitely had a little bit of heat to them, and I would layer them with our brown butter sauce. So I put them in this dish and I cooked them in about 3 different batches, and then I would layer it with sauce and a little bit of our fried sage leaves and some pine nuts. So this is Josh helping and kind of being silly about it, but we got some beautiful pine nuts and sage on our pasta. Now Josh's friend also brought focaccia. He did not realize I was making it, and we served his focaccia with his salad because his turned out better than mine. It is not a competition around here, but we are going to serve the best food possible, and that's okay because that meant Josh and I had some beautiful leftover focaccia. This is the tiramisu that my friend's husband made, and it was absolutely delicious as well. And just like that, 2 days worth of work, and this dinner is a wrap. It was a beautiful dinner. It felt so good having Friendsgiving again at my house. We did have it last year. I totally forgot, but it was at another friend's house. In the years prior to that, I think like 4 or 5 years, we had done it at my house, and it was just so good to have it again. I was gonna leave all of the mess until tomorrow, but I just kind of started picking everything up and started putting a few dishes in the dishwasher because we had it unloaded. And then Josh came to help, and in a matter of 35 minutes, we had all the food put away, all the dishes, the dishwasher's going. We have all the linens in the laundry. The table is put back where it goes. That folding table I bought, win-win. I'm so excited about that purchase. We will get a lot of use out of that. The only thing I need to do tomorrow morning to wrap this party up is I've got 4 dishes I need to wash by hand, a couple cups I need to wash by hand, and other than that, everything is put together. Everyone got to bring some of the bread that my husband's best friend made, and oh my goodness, my focaccia was good, his was fantastic. So I'm gonna ask for his recipe because I think I put a little too much oil on the bottom. I almost fried the focaccia versus his. Oh, it was so good. Both of them were good, but I would definitely say his was better, and I'm glad he brought it. So now we have a big bowl of focaccia that I'm probably gonna turn into this next week, so I could maybe turn that into stuffing or croutons or something delicious, I don't know what. I just wanna say a huge thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me as we prepared this entire feast. It was wonderful. If you enjoyed this video, I can pop a couple of my other videos right here. You can go enjoy between now and my next upload. I will link the recipes down in the description box, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.